I prepared that question for Simona that she will invest like Haji in a tennis page in 10 years from now.
He did it after his career, right?
After, yes, yes,
So
yes.
it's too difficult to do it.
In the last 10 years. 10 years. And in 10 years, he have a half of a player of national team.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Great. Good
yeah.
story.
Bună ziua, domnilor și domnilor! Revenim în transmisiune directă de aici, de la Sports Festival, împreună cu domnul Darren Cahill. Welcome, Mr. Cahill, at our show, TV talk show, sport show. From the beginning, I want to tell you that Romanian people give me a hard mission, in half an hour to convince you to sign a new contract with Halep. I have a half an hour.
A half an hour? You work slowly then. Huh? Come on, good negotiators just need 5 minutes.
Yes. So with the support of everybody here, every Romanian, I will hope that I will convince you.
Well, come on, I'll talk slowly. The one thing that Simona tells me off about all the time is stop speaking so fast. And normally when I come from Australia, we talk extremely quickly. So when I see her for the first time after being away, my mouth goes and she's like, come on, slow down, I don't understand. So if I'm talking too fast, I'm sorry. But to answer your question, and I did answer this yesterday, is that yes, I've been spending the last 6 months at home in Australia with my family. I have a boy who's 18 years of age now, and he's doing his last year at school. And next year he wants to go and play tennis in a US college. So I've been helping Benjamin. But I must say that when I took this decision at the end of the year for my family, I came home in November last year. And my daughter was there, Talia. And I said, Talia, I have some really good news. And she's like, oh, what have you bought me? I said, no, I haven't bought you anything. I'm going to stay home more next year and not do any coaching, and I'm going to be around a lot more next year. And she started to cry. And I said, oh, that's really sweet. You know, you've missed me and I'm going to be home. She goes, no, I don't want you to stop with Simona.
We too.
Yeah. So
in Romania. So
like, oh my God, I took this decision and now I've made you cry again. So we'll see at the end of the year. It's been a nice year for me to be home and to spend more time with my family. I'm not sure if I will coach again next year, but as I said yesterday, if I do coach next year, Simona will be the first person I call to see if I can help her.
So it's great for us that we have a great ally in our intention, your daughter. Okay, Mr. Cahill, I don't know if you have a feeling how Romanian people look to you in the last 5 years. Everybody saw Simona Halep as an example of the biggest player from Hagi, the biggest sportsman, Romanian sportsman. And I think a lot of Romanians look at you at a role coach, at a person, example, highest coach for us.
That's very nice. I think that as a coach, you try to do the best you can with every player. And I've had a long career as a coach. And I think the most important thing that I've learned is that you have to listen as a coach. You can't coach every player the same way. And the most important thing to do is to coach the player through their eyes and not through my eyes. And to do that, it takes time, and you have to ask the right questions, and you have to earn the trust and the belief of your player. And I think Simona and I have a great relationship that we can talk to each other about many things. And we have great trust and respect between us. And I think that's what people see, is that we both are giving our best. You can't be a good coach without having a great player. And Simona was a great player before I started working with her. And the journey that Simona had, I think, for me anyway, and I've been lucky that I've been coaching some good players, but her journey to me was the most emotional, the most satisfying, the ability to take some pretty tough defeats in Grand Slam finals, from the one against Sharapova, the one against Wozniacki, the one against Ostapenko. It ripped our hearts out. I thought to myself after that match, how are we going to recover from that? But for Simona to be able to recover from that and to get better shows how great she is, the resilience that she has, and how proud she is to play in the colours of Romania and to do what she does for you guys. And she does a lot of the stuff on the court for you guys because she knows how important it is to this country to give it your best and to try to be successful. And I've become a great coach because I have a great player in Simona, and she's the reason why I'm here today.
Applause. We are here at a sport festival, second edition, a place when come amateur, professional clubs and so on. What do you think is the role of a great athlete, great sports people with outstanding results in giving a boost to the sport movement in a country?
That's a great question, because I think that if you're going to leave a legacy after your career, you have to give back. And we can look at someone like Andre Agassi. I spent 5 or 6 years with Andre, and I'm still great friends with him today. And whilst Andre won 8 major championships in singles, he married someone who was much better than him on the tennis court as well, in Steffi Graf. She won 22 majors. But Andre is going to be more well known for what he's done away from tennis than what he did in tennis, because he's now opened 65 charter schools in the US for giving disadvantaged children, people that can't afford an education, a chance to go to school, to get an education. 65 schools. It's pretty amazing. So everybody in America thinks about Andre Agassi as this guy who's giving back to education. Not so much that he was a great tennis player. You mentioned before about Haji doing what he's doing and giving back to the community of soccer. I think when tennis is finished, I know Simona, I know her heart, I know her soul. She's going to be just as inspired to give back to the next generation of tennis players coming through. But you do that when your career is finished, because it is so tough and so taxing to be able to do what she's doing and all the top players, that every bit of focus needs to be on their career. But once her career is finished, I think you'll find that the great players give back, and that's where their legacy becomes forever.
We are here. There are here a lot of people who and parents of children who love sports, and they practice sport. But 1 year, 5 years after they start, will be a moment when they have to decide, and how to solve this dilemma. Maybe in your example, how was that moment in that you decide school or sports or performance sports? So, or how was the answer of Simona? I want to make performance.
You can do both. I think an education is incredibly important, and you can see by on the men's ATP. I'll just talk for tennis because I can't talk for other sports, but the tennis game is becoming an older sport now, and it's much tougher to break through when you're a teenager, more so than it was when I was playing a long time ago. So you have an opportunity to finish school now, to get an education, but still chase your dreams and be a professional tennis player. You don't have to turn professional at 16 or 17. In fact, it's becoming more and more rare because the athletes are bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster, and it takes time to make that athlete. So you don't have to rush. You can stay in school, get your education, you can go to college for a few years. There is no rush to go professional these days. So that's a big advantage now compared to when I played. I think also every example is a little bit different. I had no choice when I finished year 11. I didn't finish my 12 years of school. I worked for my father. I delivered spare parts for crash repairs. You know, if someone had a crash in the car, then I took the spare parts around to the crash repairs for about 6 months. I made enough money to buy a ticket to go overseas, and then I went overseas until my money ran out, which was about 3 months, and then I came home and I went back to work again. And I did this a few times until I finally made it as a tennis player. Everybody's story is a little bit different, and you have to do what's in your heart, follow your dreams. And the most important thing, I think, I'm a decent tennis coach, I think. I have a son. I have a son who's 18. He didn't listen to me for 17 years as a tennis player. I'm trying to talk to him about tennis. His dad, don't talk to me about tennis. You don't know anything. The last 12 months, he started to listen to me a little bit more. The parents have to find the right space. And the most important thing for any athlete is, firstly, be a parent. Be mum or dad. Be there to console the player and be their friends and to support them. Don't try and be their coach. And leave the coaching to the people that do it professionally. I think that is the best advice I can possibly
So
give.
give them space.
Absolutely. Be a parent.
Give them space. And after that was a moment when you saw that you can make money from professional. And in the life of every athlete, professionist athlete, come this moment. What you can tell about this moment?
So I never played tennis to make money, honestly. Back then, there wasn't
No,
that
but
much money.
to make a life from
That's
this.
right. So I did it because I love the sport and I wanted to travel. I wanted to compete against the best players in the world. I grew up, and the people of my age will remember watching McEnroe and Borg on the centre court of playing those great Wimbledon finals. And to me, that was my dream, to step onto court at Wimbledon and be a professional tennis player. And I was able to live part of that dream. Many thousands of tennis players never get that chance. A little bit of it is how hard you work, of course, but as I've grown a little bit older, it's more important to work smart, to work in a smart way, and to listen to advice and to teach yourself about the best way of moving forward. You can go out there and play tennis for 6 or 7 hours a day, and it's not going to guarantee you're going to be a great tennis player. But if you go out and work for 2 hours with good direction, really efficiently, you have a much better chance of improving. So to work smart is much more important than to work hard.
And after that will come other moment. The transfer, how to pass from athlete to coach, to be a great coach. And what is the role of coaches in the discovery of great athletes?
My father, actually, most people don't know where I came from. I didn't come from a tennis family. I came from a football family. Does anybody know, maybe if you follow me, you know Australian rules football because I talk about it all the time, but we have a sport in Australia called Australian rules football, and my father played, and he's Hall of Fame. It's a bit like Haji, not as good as Haji, but that like back in Australia. So I was always known as John Cahill's son. Not Darren Cahill, John Cahill's son, the guy, the son of the famous football player. So I used to have a chance to sit and watch him coach. And the one thing that I was always really interested in is how he spoke to his players. And he spoke to his players in a way that sold belief. Does that make sense? Where they felt like after speaking to him, they were a little bit better than they really were. And then they would go out and they would play with this confidence. And he was very big on teaching the footballers to be a little bit better, but instilling this belief that they could do it. And after talking to him, and he had 20 players at one time that were on the field, when he'd get the 20 players in a group, and I'd be standing in the middle as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, listening to him speak, that's what resonated with me. It's not so much the words, it was the tone, the inflections, watching the players look at him, and then walking away going, we can do this. And away they go and do it. And he became the most successful coach in the history of AFL. He lost his very first grand final, which is like a premiership. It's like the Super Bowl or whatever you call it in soccer. And he was devastated after losing that first one. The next 10 grand finals he coached in, he won all 10. So he has a pretty good record.
And you told us about speaking, a lot of speaking. You are a great speaker, and but also we saw you how by just a look in the field you change the You change
that
everything
depends if
in the
Simona's
field.
given me one of these or it's like a talk to the hand.
What is behind this technique of only one look?
Simona was challenging to coach mostly because I think it's a bit of a Romanian thing as well. You guys have the fire in the belly, right? You like to argue a little bit, you like to challenge, and Simona is exactly the same. And we can be speaking in a dinner conversation, we can be talking about sport, and she'll think something and she'll go, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. And I'll go, all right, well, let's talk about this a little bit. So I negotiate a little bit and she puts her foot down. So it's kind of like being husband-wife, isn't it? A little bit. It's like the woman is always right and the husband has to negotiate a little bit. Come on, that's good coaching. So she's special.
Everyday coaching.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you never quite know if you're going to get it right. The most important thing is to give it your best go, to listen to your player, and to learn from your mistakes. I made many mistakes with Simona. There's no question about it. I can tell you one of the biggest mistakes, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later today, is after she lost that final against Ostapenko at the French Open. Everybody was devastated, I'm sure. I was devastated. We went to a room at the French Open where you walk onto the court and there's a room for the two players to go in by themselves. And Simona asked me to come in after she lost. I didn't know what to say. She was up a set, 3-love, break points. So the match and the title was there for her. And I knew how much winning a Grand Slam meant to her and meant to everybody. Here in Romania. Mr. Tiriac pulled me aside. He's like shaking me. We've got to win today. We've got to win for Romania today. And I'm like, I know. And we were sitting there and for about 20, 25 minutes, Simona was in tears, just crying. And I didn't know what to tell her because I knew what was going through her mind is that this was my chance and I blew it. This was my great chance to win a Grand Slam title and it slipped through my fingers. So where do you go from there? How do you pick the athlete up and make them stronger, make them better, and make them believe they can get it done? And I pushed pretty hard after that French Open to get her back on. We say get back on the horse. If you fall off, get back on the horse.
In Australia.
In Australia, exactly. I don't know if you have the same saying here, but something
Yes,
similar.
yes.
So I pushed really hard. And I pushed her hard for 2 or 3 years. Train hard, train with a purpose, forget about the losses. Let's keep looking forward. Always looking forward. And just take each challenge day by day and not think too much about the big picture because if you keep doing the right things, it'll take care of itself. You don't have to worry. But I wore her out a little bit. And the pushing, the chances to get to number one. She lost a couple of matches against Konta at Wimbledon, then against Muguruza in the final at Cincinnati. Chances to go number one in the world. And then she lost that match against Sharapova at the US. So you guys remember the match against Sharapova? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's okay though because it was a big day for us. Huge day for us because I was pushing so hard that I didn't see it and I didn't feel it. And afterwards, Teo, Cecile, the fitness trainer, came up to me and I was upset after that match because I wanted her to beat Sharapova and she didn't stick to the game plan. And I'm thinking, tennis, game plan, be aggressive, take your chances. And that's all I'm thinking. And Teo come up to me and he said, Darren, I need to tell you this, that I think sometimes we put too much pressure on her and at 168 centimetres, we expect too much. And I think sometimes you just have to go up there and give her a hug and tell her you love her. I think that would mean more to her now than talking about tennis.
Yes.
And I went, it's about the tennis. So Simona came out and again, she was in, you could tell she'd been crying a little bit. And we sat down and I talked about the tennis. I was an idiot. And I spoke about the match. And you could see the tears start to come down a little bit again. And then she walked away. Teo walked away behind her to protect her a little bit. And he's looking at me going... And I'm thinking to myself, I'm an idiot. So I got up and I walked over and I got her out the locker room and I gave her a hug. I told her I loved it. I told her it was my fault. I'd put too much pressure on her. This last 6 or 7 weeks was a learning experience for me as well. And that'll never happen again. And from now on, we're going to do this together. 3 or 4 weeks later, she beat Sharapova 6-2, 6-2 in Asia. You remember? She went number one in the world. That was it. And she was a different player after that because all I did was give her a hug. And sometimes you need somebody next to you that you can trust to tell you the truth, to give you a different view through different eyes. And that was Teo. And he was a big reason why we turned things around.
A great lesson. Applause. Applause. Great lesson. For us, Simona is the greatest fighter in Romania in the last decades. What is your opinion? Where does she find such strength?
You guys need to tell me that because she's your girl. She's Romanian. So she was doing that before I came along anyway. I think the one thing, if I can say, that I helped her with a lot was that sometimes the frustration would build up in her so much and she'd want it so much that it would look like she would give away matches and stop trying. But it was because she would block in her thought process and thinking about how she was going to win a tennis match. And I've always said to her, the worst position Simona can be at is up a set and a break. If she's up 6-2, 1-love, break a serve, I'm going, uh-oh, we're in trouble here. Because with her, nothing's ever come easy. It really hasn't. She's had to fight for everything. So if she's winning easily, 6-2, 2-love, a break a serve, she's going, uh-oh, what's going on here? This doesn't feel right. Normally I have to work really hard for this, and something bad's about to happen. I can feel it. And then something happens, something bad. And trying to break through that mindset has been the biggest challenge that we've had. And she's much better at that now than she ever was. Every now and then, you'll see that. I think she just lost a match recently when she was up a set and a break in the clay court tournaments. I reminded her of those are the moments that you have to put your foot down and concentrate on just that game. Not the score, not the finish line, just that game, and try to find a way to win that game. Because if you lose the first point, love 15, and you get frustrated, normally Simona tennis is love 15, love 30, love 40, game, boom, back on serve. So if she can stop that happening, her chances of winning improve by 95%.
If we come back to the discussion of the topic of the role of sport in a country, how to bring sponsor, how to pass from mass to competitive sports. What you can tell us about Australia? What you noticed about the country that produced in the last year great champions? How this phenomenon is built it? Because now we try to build such a phenomenon with this second edition of sport festivals.
We have great sponsors that invest a lot of money into sport in Australia. Bunker Transylvania is a big sponsor here, and knowing how important it is for Romanian sport to keep improving and having this second sports festival is incredibly important for this country. We've been doing this type of stuff for a lot of years in Australia. Sport to us is life. I'm not sure if it's that in Romania for you guys, but for us, because Australia is so far away from everywhere else, it's our chance to compete against everyone in sport. And that's why Australian athletes are viewed as not the current generation, not Kyrgios or Tomic or these guys, but the former generations. You knew if they were an Australian athlete, you were in for hell. They would give everything they could to win a tennis match, a cricket match, football, whatever the sport was. Australian athletes, they compete for everything. And that's our legacy and our generation, and that's the way we were brought up to compete. And you can't do that without great help and people investing into sports, and having these types of things I think are incredibly important to let people understand what it's all about.
You become a professional player in 1984.
You're making me feel really old.
Okay,
now.
at that time, how you can tell us what you can tell us about this evolution? How does we can see today the worldwide surge of phenomenon sport with billion of euro of dollar invested? We saw what you can tell us about this.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that, in my opinion, there's too much money at the top of tennis. I know that the stars in tennis sell all the tickets, but I think we have a responsibility in tennis to make sure that more people can make a living out of tennis. And in my day, if I was ranked 100, 125 in the world, it was sort of the break-even number where you could make enough money to pay to go on tour, but you weren't putting any money in the bank. It's still the same today. It's exactly the same. And that's wrong. So we have a lot more money in tennis now, but it's weighted too much at the top. So me personally, I would like to see a lot of that Grand Slam money taken from the top and reinvested into the smaller events. So players rank between 100 and 300. They don't have to be making a ton of money, don't have to be buying houses or new cars, but at least that gives them a chance to survive on tour longer and have a chance of chasing their dreams, because everybody's journey is a little bit different. Simona was very good when she was young, but Pat Rafter, who was a former number one player in the world, was not a good junior at all, and he didn't mature as a tennis player until much later. So we're missing some great stories by not allowing some tennis players to continue on the tour. So take a lot of that money from the top, redistribute it to the smaller events, and give other players an opportunity to at least stay alive in their dreams.
Can a country be developed by sport movement? The sport movement can contribute to the healthy for population, for even in economic. What do you think in business?
I think so. I think there's a definitive line between sport and business. They don't cross over too much. But I think for us as people, as fans, as people that watch sport on television, as you guys who come and watch sport and pay your money to watch athletes play, it makes us feel good, right? Sport is a wonderful thing for joining the community together. If you have a soccer team or a football team that you support, where I'm from, in Adelaide, we have two teams. So the competition between the two teams is everything. I hate the other team, but I love to hate the other team. And they are the
Love
same
to
way.
hate.
Exactly. So it's what we live for, is that type of healthy competition that drives us to be a little bit better. So I think sport and business, there's a correlation for sure, but I think they are two separate entities, how they run, because the business people are the smart people, the sport people not so much, but we just love to play and compete.
The joy of playing, of competition. Ceva întrebări? Some question from audience? Vă rog, please, microphone there. Sau spuneți noastră și o să spunem mai departe. Vă rog.
How big of a role does IT play in your
Yeah.
day operations?
IT, yes. So big data. Okay, IT,
It's
software.
a great question. And in coaching, it's played an enormous role over the last 10 years. We have access now to a lot more data than we've ever had access to. Hawkeye, you guys see the shot spot that comes on. With Hawkeye, we can ask for, okay, every time Simona hits a forehand down the line, where is that ball landing? Where is she moving to? Where is her opponent hitting to? And is Simona transitioning forward? So I can get those questions answered straight after a tennis match. That data never used to be around 10 years ago. So that is there for us. It's played a huge role. But coaching is a little bit different because you can use all that data, but some of it has to be from the gut, from the eye of the coach, to have a feel for how the game is being played and what an opponent might do in a big moment. What are the patterns? What do they like to do in the big moments? Where are they tending to serve? A lot of that comes from the eye and watching a lot of tennis. And I think old school way of coaching is still a very good way of coaching, but you have to implement a lot of the IT data with it.
It's a normal question because we are here. Cluj is IT and C city, software city. It's a normal question. Okay, the last question, and thank you very much to be here to discuss with us. We are having election even this month for Romanian Tennis Federation president. Do you want to to plan? Come to our to be our president.
So,
You told us that you love competition. Mr. Tsiriak will be your competitor. So,
and will I make it out the country alive if Mr. Tiriac loses?
first time in life.
I love Mr. Tiriac. He's been a really important part of Simona's team over the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm not sure what people's perception of Mr. Tiriac is, but he's like a big teddy bear. And honestly, It's a lot of talk, a lot of bravado, stick the chest out. But when it comes down to it, he absolutely loves Simona and would do anything for her. And he's embraced her as a friend and a friend for life. And I know that she has great respect for him. And she turns to Mr. Tiriac for a lot of advice, not just in tennis. His tennis advice may be a little too much sometimes, but more in life and more about the foundation stuff. She now has her own foundation. Mr. Tiriac's helping her with that. She also sponsors an ice hockey team. So a lot of that is done through the Tiriac Foundation. He's been a really important part of the Simona Halep team. I would love to see him become president. I think he's a great businessman. And I think in those types of roles, you need to have smart people that know how to talk to governments, how to influence governments to get funding. And as it is in all ways of sport, unless you have people that are in politics and they know how to do the negotiations, it's very tough to get funding to sports. And I think Mr. Tiriac is one of the best. So I would vote for Mr. Tiriac, and that'll allow me to get back out the country nice and safely.
Applause, eh? Applause.
Thank you.
So, it was a great honor for me to have such conversation with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Cahill.
Thank you.
I hope our 30 minutes just finished. And what you can tell us? My mission was.
Your mission was to get me to sign with Simona next
Yes.
year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. But honestly, I think there's a good chance. So we'll see.
Good to hear you. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure. Mulțumesc foarte mult, doamnelor și domnilor.